ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's main event. In this corner, we have rock and roll's standard show. Tonight's challenger, the People's Choice, Diamond David Lee Roth.
You lower a boxing ring into the center of a screaming arena, and there is no single symbol or logo in the entire planet Earth, anywhere in the world, that is as recognized as the boxing ring. And the boxing ring symbolizes everything that this whole rock and roll business and life is to me, man. You know, there's impact there, there's humor in there, and there's a lot of great potential, and there is disaster lurking around every corner.
Hi, I'm Dan Neer, and join me now as Media America Radio presents David Lee Roth, Up Close. Knuckle Bones from David Lee Roth's new smash album, Skyscraper. As usual, David presents a spectacular stage show, but the performance is not all flash. What you see and hear is the result of a lot of hard work.
We spent 4 months in rehearsal here. I got the most professional, in all respect, musicians that I could possibly find. The tough thing to do is to get a group like that together and have them do musical gymnastics as a real team. You know, when you hear stuff on the studio going ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, and the notes are augmented and the harmonies are difficult, you know, and on, to get a band to be able to really blow fresh life into that every night take you hundreds of hours, hundreds of rehearsal. You need people who will make the ultimate commitment, because, man, you're going to sacrifice everything to get to that. And you have to be obsessed. You will sacrifice your social life, and your hours will change. You're going to turn into a vampire and everything. You know, it's all going to switch, man. And you really have to be obsessed. And that's what we have here.
And what we have here is Stand Up from Skyscraper.
A lot of musicians come by way of their music very hard fought. They're all wrapped real tight, man. Lots of problems. You know, real, you know, and out comes this great music, this gorgeous sounding music, you know, but look at the source, man. You know, maybe that's what created the music. Maybe all that tension and foment and everything is what creates the music. But ultimately, it will bury it too. You know, you have to strike a balance. You know, this whole thing of being the starving, sweating artist. I think it was Willie Dixon said, "Picking cotton never helped nobody sing blues no better." You know, so how do you look like a starving artist? Well, first you got to get some tuberculosis, and then you got to turn off all the lights. You know. And on, and that's the way it got popular. It's why you got to look like you're pale and dying, you know. You know, and this kind of a thing, illness and dissipation became very popular and still is today, you know, in terms of music. So but you got to watch that, though. It'll bite you.
Going Crazy from Dave's first solo album, Eat 'Em and Smile. David likes to put his own stamp on everything he sings.
I've always made an attempt to take one of two different directions in music. One is, you know, you refine a traditional method. You take like a blues song, you know, or you take a show tune or a heavy rock or thrash, whatever you want to call it, you know, at the time. And you refine that. Stay within the style of it, you know, but you give it your face. You give it your steps, a few cool moves, you know, and you refine it. Or radical redesign. Build a completely better, new, unrecognizable mousetrap, you know, and try and create something. Look, he lives like you and me, but it's sewed together out of 9 other things. You might recognize a part of, hey, look at that ear, that looks like Sue's ear, you know, and those feet look like Led Zeppelin, you know, but it's something new. It's a hybrid, something different.
It's Van Halen's version of the Kinks, You Really Got Me. David's first taste of stardom almost came with a band called Rat Salad. Fortunately, good taste prevailed, and they became Van Halen.
That was a magical time. That was something that, you know, you're slowly turning into the magazine that you've always been reading. Suddenly you are the radio. Suddenly you are a record. You know, well, it's not so suddenly. In fact, it's not the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow at all. It's the doing of it. You know, it was the getting there. And that's, we did it with real spirit, man. We did it with pizzazz, the kind of spirit that ignited fires under a lot of other bands in a lot of different ways, musically, visually, the way people talk in an interview maybe, you can see bits and pieces of it here and there. Those are the things that I'm proudest of.
Next on Up Close, David Lee catches the showbiz bug from his Uncle Manny. Up Close is brought to you by Michelob. So exceptionally smooth, the night belongs to Michelob. And by Close-Up Toothpaste with fluoride. Get whiter teeth and fresh breath with Close-Up.
Yeah, this is Diamond David Lee Roth, and we're back, baby.
All right.
As you know, I never really took dancing. I always did something, I did the martial arts, I always did karate and that sort of thing. Nothing wrong with dancing. I just never really had the desire to go for something like that. And if you do something, a move with impact up there, you do something from the martial arts, then, the people are going to look out there, they're going to sit out there, and for your $14, you're going to go, wow, did you feel that? As opposed to just, did you hear that?
Dance the night away. It was David's Uncle Manny who first pointed him down the road to rock and roll.
Uncle Manny was in showbiz when it wasn't hip to be in showbiz. Uncle Manny owned a club in Greenwich Village called the Cafe Wha, W-H-A with a question mark. Wha? Remember the Beatniks? Wha? That was when Hendrix was playing. There were the Isley Brothers and Virgin Island Steel Drummers, and they had, Bob Dylan was there, and Bill Cosby was just starting there and everything. So it was a real moving time, in the music industry. And I caught the bug real good there. I was listening to records and radio before that, well before that, but I decided exactly what I was going to do about it in Manny's place.
And the cradle will rock. From Van Halen's Women and Children First.
You think you always know what you want, but the whole beauty of this, the biggest, most attractive element to getting into rock and roll, into showbiz for me, was that there's an unpredictable outcome. Daily. You just don't know. 6 times a day. How's the show going to go off? How's the record going to do? How's this going to look? How's that going to feel? And on and on. And that has always been the most predictable element. And if you consider that and truly believe it in your heart, then you're not going to be looking for an ending. This is not the beginning or the ending of anything here right now. It's a big part of it, though.
Pretty Woman from Van Halen's Diver Down. Don't go away. Up Close will jump back after a word from our sponsors. But first, Diamond Dave's thought for the day.
The light at the end of the tunnel could always be the front of an oncoming train.
David Lee Roth says, with Van Halen on the wrapper, you get good rock inside.
Van Halen is a brand name. Van Halen is like Ajax. Van Halen's like Pepsi or Gerber's. Van Halen is like, it's going to be around a long time. And I'll tell you why. It's because I was one of the architects. I poured 10 years of my life into building that name and into what it is. And you bet your butt's going to last a long time, man. If I build you a Cessna, it better fly without me. So, so looking at it from that perspective, then hey, the future holds nothing but gold. So bright, give me the shades, It's like we did it. We accomplished some great things together there.
Like Jump, their first #1 hit from 1984. David always did come across as articulate and intelligent.
When it came to reading and writing and the printed word and these kind of things, I was always a really good student. It came easy for me. I learned to read early in life. But, I was always off in fantasy land. I was using books to get me there, and books is what led me to TV and movies and et cetera, et cetera. And then when I first saw Marilyn Monroe, it was all over. But, numbers and things like that, the technical aspects I had to work on. I had to work hard to get those things, I was never a real natural anything.
And did David ever have a teacher he was hot for?
Sure. Miss Miranda in Spanish class. That's why I speak so good. I did a lot of overtime. I could swear I need some more tutoring, Miss M.
David left Van Halen to pursue his solo career. The press had a field day with the bitter breakup. David sets the record straight.
Spent a lot of time together, and you grow to a point together, but people are people. People change, and people's personalities change, and, what you were last season may not be this season, especially when you're doing dog years out on the road. It's 7-1 here. You age 7 years every season coming out on the road, and people change even that much more quickly because of that. So I haven't seen the Van Halens in years, and I haven't talked to them, and what has been, going on in the press and so forth turned unnecessarily ugly, and that pains me greatly, and so now, when the issue comes up, I say I choose to dwell only on the good things that we contributed to music together. I think Van Halen at one time was pretty influential band. Maybe it still is, and hey, if we did it there, then we can do it again.
David does it his way with Edgar Winter after this. Diamond Dave's first solo venture resulted in the 4-cut EP, Crazy from the Heat. With 3 cuts in the can, inspiration for the 4th came from an unusual source.
I was outside of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We were sitting on a beach, a girlfriend of mine and one of the bodyguards and a few other people. We were sitting around. I said, man, I certainly need something to finish off this EP. I need a 4th tune. I need the drop kick, man. I need the slam dunk. And we were listening to the Beach Boys at the time. And California Girls came on, and Eddie, my bodyguard in his infinite wisdom, said, Dave, you ought to play this one, Dave. I said, that's it. Shazam. And the ocean broke apart, And so we packed up that night. We piled everything into the back of this Jeep, and we started driving back to Puerto Vallarta to catch the next plane home to Los Angeles. And that's how these kind of projects get started.
David's been around too long not to recognize a master.
Working with Edgar Winter was really a kind of a gift experience to me, because Edgar was always one of my big heroes. He was somebody who had a lot of stage pizzazz and at the same time was super accelerated musically. When it came time to do, the Gigolo sessions and like that, wow, let's bring him in. Hey, he was in there, when the original version of Easy Street, Dan Hartman. And so when he came in, it was sort of like watching a master at work. He just kind of sits there and puffs his cool cigarette. Well, David, I don't hear enough bass. And it's like a bolt out of the blue. Wow, that's right. I didn't. He's right. There's 19 other instruments pumping away. And it's just that one little thing changes the whole complexion of the sound. It was like watching a master at work.
To escape the madness of the musical world, Dave has at times gone a long way out of his way.
I personally have spent a lot of bucks getting to the 5th farthest corner at the end of the world. It'd be slashing and literally smashing your way through jungle for 38, 39, 40 days, man. Leech as you finally come over the last ridge. You think you're the only guy that can come over. You come over the ridge, and there's a guy who grew up down the street from you in a Bruce Lee t-shirt, who's been living there for 2 years on $40 a year, speaks the native language. Hey, you're Dave Roth, aren't you?
Oh well, there's no place like home, and a good old Yankee Rose.
If you use your imagination a little bit, you can steal from 19 other wells, draw water from many wells, and make it into rock and roll. That's how it improves, That's how Led Zeppelin made it up. That's how the Beatles made it up, and Elvis and everybody else, Witness on Eat 'Em and Smile. You hear a tune that's like I'm Easy. Well, there's a kind of a bluesy barrel house kind of a thing. We don't want to lose that. We want to keep that perfectly intact, but we'll give it a little face to it. We're gonna make it ours a little bit.
David Lee Roth, a Frank Sinatra fan?
I think I'm more a fan of the idea of Frank Sinatra than the actual music of Frank Sinatra. A little bit of glamour, a little bit of, again, that lighting, the pizzazz, the showbiz element. That's a big part of rock and roll, As far as actually listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra, no, I really didn't. That's Life was recorded before Frank Sinatra did it, and it's essentially a blues. And it's a lyrical content that was close to my heart. It still is.
David Lee recently released the album Skyscraper. On it, is a beautiful ballad.
Damn Good is a song that's really close to my heart. That's a real true to me kind of feel. You know, I was singing it to specific people, and it was specific times and places and people who inspired the lyric. I had a cold when I sang the song. You can hear it at the end when it goes Porgy and Bess. It goes, you get that buzzing thing because I couldn't sing it right, so I sang it through my teeth.
We'll be right back with Diamond Dave's Deadly Daily Diet for rock and roll stars when Up Close continues. The cover of Skyscraper shows David clinging to a bare rock face. Not exactly some people's idea of paradise.
Lyrically, the song Paradise has nothing literally to do with mountain climbing or rock climbing. Climbing is the visualization of the way the music sounded to me for that song, you know. Not necessarily that a long walk in the woods is paradise. Quite the contrary. I'd rather ride a Harley anytime. But the feeling, the vibe that you'll get while you're there is pure rock and roll. You know, whether you want to translate that as excitement or fear, or hey, what's the difference really? You know, it's the thing of unpredictable finish. You know, a careening rush towards an unpredictable finish. That is what I get, you know, in the studio, and that's what I get up on a rock slab. A lot of people ask me, Dave, any advice for aspiring, perspiring young rock stars? I tell them diet is essential. You need all 5 of the basic food groups: sugar, starch, fat, grease, and alcohol. And I know you're thinking, Dave, it's so hard to keep a proper diet today. Where can I find all these? Any place with a drive-through. But you must eat the large fries or you're going to defeat the whole purpose. Good luck. I'm Dave Roth.
We'd like to thank Pete Angelis, Paul Childs, and Liz Hill from Diamond Dave Enterprises, George Garrity, Nancy Kramer, and Larry Butler from Warner Brothers Records. David Lee Roth, Up Close, was produced in New York by Near Perfect Productions as an exclusive presentation of Media America Radio. The producers are David Bales and DeWitt Nelson, assisted by James Fahey. I'm Dan Neer, executive producer. This program is copyrighted 1988, all rights reserved. No portion may be reproduced without the written permission of the producers. Thank you for listening.
Woo! David Lee Roth here. Right, me and my band of rock and roll desperados thundering into your town soon. Join us for some two-fisted shoot 'em up, time down, bang bang, rock and roll. Media America Radio presents me, David Lee, Up Close. Whew. Hi-ho, Silver.
Be listening this week as Diamond Dave dishes out his own personal philosophy on life. Not to mention Dave's Deadly Diet for rock and rollers when Media America Radio presents David Lee Roth, Up Close.
Woo! David Lee Roth here. Right, me and my band of rock and roll desperados thundering into your town soon. Join us for some two-fisted shoot 'em up, time down, bang bang, rock and roll. Media America Radio presents me, David Lee, Up Close. Hi-ho, Silver.
Be listening tonight as Diamond Dave dishes out his own personal philosophy on life. Not to mention Dave's Deadly Diet for rock and rollers when Media America Radio presents David Lee Roth, Up Close.